Welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and I think most of us are in some sort of lockdown right now. Now this sucks for a lot of people, but those of us like me who are reefers, what it means is we get to stay home and spend time with our tanks. So for today's video, let's go ahead and do a full tank update on this 210-gallon reef. Overall, this tank is looking great. It's looking the best it's looked in a year or two. I'm really happy with the way it's going. Other than a couple minor issues, this tank is looking spectacular. So on a video or two ago, I updated my lighting and added metal halides. So let's start with how that's going. So with the lighting, I've got two Kessel A160s, one on either side of the tank, and then I got the three 360Xs and four tubes of T5s, and then I've got the two metal halides, which really does seem like overkill. Now, when I put the metal halides on, I talked about not putting the glass in, and I didn't really know how much UV it was gonna throw out, but that was a big concern I had. Right after making that video, I spoke with Jake Adams about the glass because I put him on without the glass, and he confirmed that the UV really is that bad. Without this glass doing UV protection, it can burn my corals, it can sunburn my fish, it really could kill everything. So I didn't risk it. I listened to his advice and did what he said to do. All I really had to do to mount this glass was turn this side panel around. I turned the tabs out, turn it around, put it back together. I did break a tab on the other light, so the flexibility on that is pretty bad. That metal fatigue happens pretty easy. Otherwise, it worked great. If these were single-ended bulbs, it wouldn't be a problem, but with double-ended bulbs, they are a UV light, and they'll just do massive damage, and I didn't need to find that out for myself. My other big concern with the halides was it was gonna get hot. And the tank itself doesn't, but the lights are getting too hot. I don't wanna mess my Kessels up. So I've put this humidifier in here. Basically it's the top half, and it's sucking the air from behind the tank and blowing it upwards. Long term, I will mod this hood to put some ventilation in the side, probably a fan pulling on one side, sucking on the other to get good airflow across here, and that should solve it. I've got this temporarily rigged up for cooling. Right now it's loud, so I have it shut off, but it's temporary until this COVID thing goes away and I can feel comfortable going to hardware stores and working on stuff. But for now, it's doing the job and it's all temporary. Fish-wise, this tank is doing fantastic. All the tangs are getting along together. No real problems there. All the clownfish are doing 5. I've still got 5 in this tank. It really works out. They've kind of changed their spread up a little, so now it's basically 2 that live in the toadstool and the clam. I've got 2 more that live in the top Montes, and then another one that lives over in the Euphyllia section. And then the only weird thing that's going on is I've got an azure damsel and a sapphire damsel that are kind of going at it for territorial reasons. Up until now, that azure has been a model citizen, so he may end up having to come out of this tank. The Montes are doing really well. I wish I could get a little more color in this Spongoda. It should be a lot greener, but that's really the only one that's not doing good. And when I say not doing good, it's really healthy. It's growing fast. It just doesn't have the color I'd like. But the rest of them look great, so I really am not gonna mess with it too much. I've just added metal halides. I'll be changing my Kessels around anyways. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really loving how this section's coming together. I've got Poecilopora, Montipora, Seriatopora, which is bird's nest, with more Montipora behind it. I got Montipora above it, and then we've got the watermelons growing up the back. This section's looking amazing. It's all growing together, and really a lot of this is unplanned. I kind of put the corals there, they grew together. This is a fast growing section. I mean, everything here grows fast. The only downside is it grows so fast, I'm gonna have to do something with that bird's nest because it is the right size right now, but it won't be long and it'll be completely overgrown. My little frag section's doing pretty good. The problem is my bracing is right here. So because of the bracing, it gets shadowed out, which kind of sucks, but everything here is doing pretty well. Without the bracing, I'd have a ton more light, so maybe I'll get a spotlight or something to put on there. But yeah, everything here is doing fantastic. Up front, it's probably out of focus, is the Space Invader Pectinia. It's doing great right there. Next to it's Montipora setosa. The white fluffy coral is the Palau Estrella. Next to it is that kind of bright pink with purple polyps Montipora. Well, it's in lower light, so now it's purple, so I would move it, but it's growing so well right there, I'd just rather not. Next to it is the super neon green encrusting Monty, and it's growing like gangbusters. And then the two acros are just your basic green slimers. They're doing great, but you can kind of see the lighting issue here. As they come out, they're starting to grow up. So that's where they're finding light. So they're growing to the light and then they're turning, which is way cool, but it's also a sign I need more light. Up top, I got more light. So from adding those ethyl halides, I'm getting more light in that section. So the Monty's well lit up, the two chalices are pretty well lit up, but I've got Crazy T Montipora right back there. It's not got the color that I'd want, it's lower light, so I'm maybe thinking about switching it with the chalice because I think the chalice would like the lower light better. The problem is that chalice is already starting to grow onto the rock and I don't want to leave a piece of it behind, so I'm debating on it. My giant neon green toadstool leather continues to thrive. It's grown to the surface. I love this coral. The rest of my toadstools and my big devil's hands are all growing together. This is the look I always shoot to achieve. And with these corals, it's so easy to achieve. They grow into each other. They don't hurt each other. I love this look, and it's so easy and it's so inexpensive. My zoas and interstellar mushrooms I've put on this back overflow have really taken off ever since I added that spotlight. Getting a lot of light there has made a difference, and I really need to get some more zoas down low because my goal is to fill as much of this as I possibly can with super bright zoas. And these interstellars are so cool, they gotta be in there. This Hydenephora has almost doubled in size since I put it here, I don't know, 5-6 months ago. It's overshadowing the gold lepto below it. It's not causing any problems other than that, but the gold lepto behind it is growing like gangbusters. This guy's pulled in right now, but there's nothing wrong with him. But I really am probably gonna have to frag that hide just to light up that Leptoceras. Or maybe we'll change the lighting. You never know with me. One thing I've started doing with this tank is adding little hidden gems. I'll hide corals in places where they're hard to see, like this Pectinia. I didn't have any real great place to put it, but back there is just this hidden gem. I love this coral. This green pineapple brain continues to thrive. I've never had anything go wrong with this coral. I've had it for 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, forever. Fantastic coral. The only coral that's giving me issues is this purple brain. Down here where there's almost no light, it's dying off a little bit, which is disappointing. On top, it's a little light color, and I don't know if it's stressed or if that's just because it's in a brighter section, but what does worry me are the little white dimples in there. And what I think caused those is I cleaned my screens the other day. They get quite a bit of salt creep on them, and I finally got a day warm enough where I was home that I could actually take them outside and clean them. So I think when I did that, I dropped some salt on it, and that's what caused those spots. The Christmas Favia and the Platygyra are doing fantastic. They're both encrusting onto the rock. I mean, this is exactly what I want. They're slow growing, beautiful corals. I don't have to do anything with this section. It's just doing exactly what I want. The main issue I'm running into is my neon green candy cane is growing out of control. So I may have to frag this section just to keep the candy canes from touching the brains. They're both going to be fairly harmless to each other, but no reason to really cause myself problems. Besides, I can always use more green candy canes somewhere. This gold frog spawn has gone crazy since I put it in high light. Well, relatively high light. And right now I've got 2 heads that are splitting into 3 and 1 that's splitting into 2. This coral is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to add new frags to other places in this tank. It's one of my favorites. For the most part, the entire Euphyllia section is doing amazing. The frog spawns up here are just growing out of control. I love that. It's so full and filled in. I wish the rest of them would do it. They're really good. They're pulled in more, and what I've found with frog spawns and hammers is they pull in more with higher flow, and there's actually quite a bit of flow in here. These lower ones are starting to disappoint me. They're pulled in more than they usually are. They're just a little scraggly. Same with these golds. These golds are less gold than they used to be. Depending on the day, they're really bright and gorgeous, and other days they're not. And really it's like time of day with lighting, everything considered. Right now they're kind of bland, but you know. So these 2 are a bit of a disappointment. They're looking fine, but they're nowhere near their peak. And honestly, I think it's down to lighting. Everything has grown out in front of stuff. It's a major problem I'm running into, which is why I keep modding my lighting system to try to get more light to the corals that need it. This little rock's doing pretty good. The blastomuses keep growing really well. The branching Cephastria is doing good, although it's more encrusting these days than branching. And then the Uluphilia does fantastic there. The Scullies are a little more pulled in, but that's just time of day. As we get towards evening, these guys will really fluff up for me. The fox coral continues to thrive. It's still pretty early in the day as far as the lights go on this reef, so it's not as fluffy as it's going to get later on, but really right now it looks pretty good. It is something I could eventually frag, so I wouldn't mind maybe finding a really bright fox coral and fragging this thing, and then having a bright one and then this one here. We'll see how things go. My squamosa clam continues to grow. It looks beautiful. It thrives under every condition it's ever been under. This clam is fantastic. I love it, and those 2 clowns are still laying eggs on it. It's its own little ecosystem. I cannot recommend a clam enough to people. And saving the best for last is this big green bubble coral. It looks beautiful. It always does well. It just grows and grows and grows. It's not a fast growing coral, but that's probably a good thing since there's no good way to frag it and it's already so big. And there we go. There's the full update on the 210-gallon reef. I'm really happy with this tank. If there's a downside to it, it's that it's almost getting boring. There isn't a lot left for me to do on it other than try to light up places that I currently don't have light to so I can add more coral. It's really cool the way this thing is going. Downstairs, I do still have some algae. We'll attack that another day. But right now, I'm just overjoyed by the way this tank looks and the way it's going. So we're moving into summer. That's when tanks usually start to go downhill. So my summer resolution is to keep on this tank, be obsessed, and make sure that when I roll into fall, it looks this good, if not better, in the fall. So thanks for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.